Okay, good morning again, everyone. This is Nick Petro from the National Weather Service in Raleigh with your winter storm briefing for Central North Carolina. And this briefing covers right through from tonight through Saturday. I appreciate everyone joining us today, and we will again be, this will be recorded and uploaded, and also slides will be made available on our website and our social media sites. So we encourage everyone to visit our social media pages and please do feel free to share this briefing via our social media sites. So the winter storm, this is kind of a sort of a quick overview. Tonight continues tomorrow and then even into Saturday. Still watching the track of that low pressure system. Now's the time to wrap up preparations for winter storm conditions on Friday. Some places are going to find that roads are impassable. Other places will find many power outages due to snow and ice. This is the type of event where the combination of heavy ice and some areas, particularly further north closer to the Virginia border, could be dealing with both snow and ice. So I do expect quite a bit of power outages, down trees, and power outages and such, and just folks need to be prepared for that. Right now, the latest model data suggests we're going to get started tonight, changing to freezing rain on Friday, and then some areas will see all rain. I'll show that here in just a minute. Expect precipitation to taper off late Friday night, and then perhaps wrapping up on Saturday as a few snow showers with maybe just a light accumulation. Obviously, track changes could have big impacts on how much. So here's a quick look at the watch, warning, and advisory situation. The areas in pink you see for Central North Carolina, those are all winter storm warnings. The I-95 corridor you'll see is under a winter weather advisory, simply because the amounts do not meet our criteria for warning. That doesn't mean there will be no impacts. Advisories can still mean substantial, notable impacts. So don't take advisories lightly and think you're out of the woods if you're in one of the counties highlighted blue under an advisory. When's it all going to get started? So this slide, in a very kind of basic way, summarizes when we think the precipitation, which will probably start out as a little bit of snow and sleet and then change over to freezing rain with time as it works its way across the area. But here's when it all begins. First, as further as you head southwest, later as you head north and east. So there's the times right there. Should reach sort of the Triad metro area probably by 3 a.m. or so. The Triangle by 4, we'll start to see those first sleet pellets falling, maybe snowflakes, and then up closer to the Virginia border around sunrise. So that's a quick look at the timing. Or the onset, I should say. Now, this slide, again, this was the one I was working on last, so before I email these slides out, I'm going to add a few more details to this slide. But anyway, this will give you a general sense of the timing using simulated radar reflectivity. And you could see that when it first comes in overnight tonight, the very northern fringes of it should be snow and sleet. But then after sunrise tomorrow, we should begin to see that change over to freezing rain basically along and south of Highway 64. And as we head through late morning, we'll see the intensity in the coverage begin to pick up from the west. Snow and sleet should still be the primary precipitation type near the Virginia border, perhaps even in the Winston-Salem and Greensboro areas along and north of Interstate 85. But once you get south of 85 and east of 85, it should be freezing rain by 10 a.m. And then it looks like the latest model data suggests the freezing rain may be prolonged even down toward Anson County and Richmond and Stanley counties. The warm air appears to come in more from the east and southeast, so by 10 a.m. we'll probably begin to see a changeover to rain and warming up just enough to get to rain along the southern I-95 corridor. By 1 p.m. the southern I-95 corridor should be rain, and basically everything west of US 1, west of the Sandhills, should still be freezing rain. We could see substantial ice accumulations west of the Sandhills, west of US 1. The snow may still hang on north of 85 up to the Virginia border. For the Triangle region, that's going to be the tricky time. I'm not quite sure if it will have already changed. Of course, if it's frozen or wintry, it'll be freezing rain. But rain, just plain rain, won't be too far away from Wake County there by 1 p.m. By 4 p.m., again, this is again a tricky time because of the cold air, the way it's arranging. It looks like the I-95 corridor, most of the I-95 corridor should be rain, with freezing rain all the way, perhaps all the way up to the Virginia border, along and just north of 85. If it's still freezing rain by 4 p.m. for places like Wadesboro and Albemarle and perhaps Ashboro and the sort of just west of the US 1 corridor, that could be some substantial freezing rain amounts. You'll see here in my ice total graphic here coming up. So because the intensity would be there combined with the cold temperatures, that could be a substantial ice accumulation area. Again, I'm talking about this area right in here. Could see quite a bit of ice. For the evening hours, things will be getting out of here, kind of wrapping up, at least for this initial heavy batch. I'm thinking that just about everything sort of south and east of the triangle, perhaps even including the triangle, should be rain. The only place we're going to see freezing rain left, I believe, will be along and north of the I-85 corridor. So that's the way we think the timing for the transitions will play out. I'll try to add a few more lines and details to this graphic here before I send it out by email. When it comes to the amounts, you'll notice the quotes around most likely, because obviously this is a tricky forecast. They all are when they have warm air involved coming up from the south. It's always a challenge to see where that transition lines are going to occur. Subtle differences, subtle changes from what we think can have huge implications on the amounts, but right now this is the most likely total snow and sleet accumulations. Wouldn't be surprised for places like Winston-Salem and northwest Guilford County up toward Person County to see 8 inches of snow, maybe even some lucky spots seeing a foot of snow across those areas, with snowfall amounts tapering off as you head south and east. So places like Albemarle, Sanford, Raleigh, up toward Henderson may only see in terms of snow just an inch or two. Once you get south and east of the triangle, should be an inch or less. So because of the quicker changeover to freezing rain. Now, having said that changeover to freezing rain, well, before I get to that, let me show you an possible alternate scenario for snow and sleet. A possible alternate scenario. So where can we maybe go wrong with what I just showed you? The area in dashed there, the snowfall totals there could be cut substantially if we get a quicker change to sleet and or freezing rain. So if the warm air aloft comes surging in quicker and we change over to sleet or freezing rain, then these numbers will be much less than what we've got on the most likely scenario map. Not to say that, obviously sleet and freezing rain come with their own problems, but if you're, measuring the snow to get an idea, if that's your, concern, obviously these numbers may be much lower in those areas if it changes over quicker to sleet and freezing rain. Now there could be a substantial sleet accumulation, so again, keep that in mind. But that's a possible alternate scenario. Shifting gears to the most likely storm total, freezing rain. And when we say freezing rain accumulations, we're really talking about ice. How much ice, how thick is that ice going to get? And you'll notice from yesterday's slides, the area where we think the heaviest icing may occur has been shifted to the south because of the arrangement and the alignment of that warmer air is more north-south oriented than east-west than what we originally thought. So again, places like Wadesboro up toward Albemarle and over toward perhaps even places like Sanford and to the point southwest, Pinehurst could be looking at a solid ½ inch of ice, maybe in spots even a little bit more. But going to the northeast of there, up toward the triangle, there could be still a ¼ inch of ice, which typically we start to see tree branches coming down and power outages and subsequent damage on the ground from falling trees when we begin to see that at a ¼ inch of ice. And obviously it gets much more widespread and more problematic as the ice accumulates even more. So we begin to see problems at a ¼ inch. We could see in this shade of purple right here, we could see upwards of 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain or ice accumulation. So that's the most likely. Now, where could that go wrong? Here's a possible alternate scenario for freezing rain and ice. Ice totals could be much higher in this area here, basically from the triangle west to the triad, to the eastern triad, along the I-85 corridor, give or take 30 miles either side. Ice totals could be much higher in this area, depending on the storm track shift and if there is an earlier changeover to freezing rain. If there's an earlier changeover to freezing rain, the ice is going to accumulate much more in this area than what we have shown. Another possible alternate scenario, ice totals could be actually less, less with far fewer impacts across the I-95 corridor if we get a quicker northward surge of warm air, or if it changes over to just rain sooner than we expected. So keep that in mind too. But either way you slice it, I think there's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff in impacts basically along the western edge of this dashed line, and that is not uncommon for this type of weather scenario. So again, these are alternate scenarios. Let me back up. This is what we think is the most likely scenario. So when you get these slides, when you download them, take a look at these alternate scenarios for an idea of what may happen if our forecast strays from what we're thinking right now. All right, well, we're not done with this briefing just yet, because I want to point out a couple things that I wanted to show you on this slide. Here's a link where you can go to our graphical hour-by-hour forecast. Let me pull it up on the screen right here. And because I know a lot of people are asking about wind, what is the wind going to do? What is the temperatures going to do? That's always a question. If there's a lot of wind, maybe worsening the impacts of the ice and power outages or prolonged cold temperatures and such. If again, back on the slide, if you download these slides and go to this link right here, click on that link, that'll take you to this page, and then you can just click on your area of interest. So I'll just randomly pick right here on Raleigh, and that gives you our hour-by-hour forecast, where you can look and view what the hour-by-hour expectations are, our hour-by-hour forecast of our wind speeds. So clearly you could see we are expecting some gusty winds, 10 to 15, maybe even higher than that. That's for Raleigh. Let me go a little bit further south near Albemarle, where there could potentially be quite a bit of ice accumulation, and you'll see our winds for that area, for that part of central North Carolina, again, over 10 miles per hour tomorrow. So that could, make the icing potential, or I should say the tree branch breaking potential a little greater with the higher winds. And you can see what the expectations are for temperatures. Temperatures expected to just hover around or maybe even just below freezing right into the next night and into the next day. So I wouldn't look for any dramatic improvements in terms of warming and melting to really occur until Sunday. Now, I know I haven't addressed Saturday much, but we'll cover that in a later briefing. But do know that that on Saturday, I do look for, let me back up to this slide here, because on Saturday the low pressure system will be pulling out, and there may be some light snow shower activity as the wraparound activity moves through. We're not expecting this to be a big event on Saturday. Maybe a ½ inch of snow, maybe some lucky spots getting an inch or so. Again, we'll address this more with briefings later today and tomorrow. So anyway, that wraps up. Again, be sure to check out our most likely maps, our alternate scenario maps for both snow and ice, to get a sense of what's going to happen in your area. Don't forget to click on this link if you want hour-by-hour details regarding wind impacts, and subsequent temperatures.